our first question, which is some of the common mistakes or things to avoid in case a person does get into a car accident.
Sure. The first thing to avoid is talking too much with the insurance company.
Oh, boy.
And even talking at all with the insurance company.
Like, period, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're not on your side. Think about it. They're the other side.
Right.
So they're the ones that are going to evaluate the claim and decide if they want to pay or not pay voluntarily. So oftentimes the first thing that happens is the insurance company wants a recorded statement from an accident victim. And they ask a bunch of questions. First of all, how did it happen? Kind of get to the bottom of whose fault it is. But then they angle into, well, tell me about this. You said that your neck or your back hurt, but what I'm interested in is, were you ever getting any treatment for your neck or your back before this crash happened? So they're already trying to line up an excuse to not to pay. They're looking for something else to blame the need for treatment.
Right. They're not a neutral kind of agent in this scenario. They're definitely on the other side.
Exactly.
And their ultimate goal is for sure to reduce the amount that their company has to pay out. They love receiving the payments, right? But
yeah, exactly. And it's not. I tell people it's nothing personal. They treat everybody the same.
Equal treatment.
Yeah. The issue for them is they can pay to make you feel better, get the treatment that you need to get cured, or they can keep the money for themselves, and that's an easy choice for them.
Well, of course. Yeah. They are not a nonprofit. It's definitely a for-profit business, right?
Yeah. But the amazing part for me that I've noticed over the years is people always seem protective of their own insurance company who pays the medical bills, and I've never quite understood that.
I have a theory. I wonder if it's because they have such beautiful relationships with their insurance agents.
The agents are the friendly ones, but the agents aren't the one that resolves claims.
Right.
You can report the claim to them, but after that, you're going to get a call from a claims adjuster who's going to start working on the claim and deciding if the bills are going to get paid or not. And
so, Paul, sorry for interrupting, but would you say that the insurance agent is a neutral party?
More neutral than the claims adjuster. The claims adjuster is adversarial.
For sure.
And the claims adjuster is the person, or the agent is the person that you bought the insurance from.
Right.
They wanted to sell that to you. They want to keep a great relationship with you. But again, they have zero input on whether that claim is going to be paid or not. So
they don't call the shots.
No, they're not going to help you.
Right.
They can't help you. They're not in a position to help you.
Even if they wanted to.
Right.
Of course.
Right. Yeah, so people oftentimes, though, are concerned about their insurance company. Well, they've got to pay these bills. I don't want to get my insurance company involved if it wasn't my fault. But the problem with that analysis is, according to Minnesota law, your own insurance company pays for your medical bills no matter who's at fault, and your wage loss no matter who's at fault. It's called the no-fault law.
Right.
But the insurance company has convinced people you pay in every month or every 6 months for your insurance premium, but you should expect nothing in return. And I've always found that odd because whenever I go to the gas station, I never give the gas station the money without getting the gas.
Well, of course.
And I don't go to the grocery store and just pay them and then get no groceries in return. And so I'm not sure exactly how the insurance company can pull that off.
I think what I've heard from local Minnesotans is there's a fear that if they do get their insurance company involved, that's going to directly impact their premiums. Sure,
yeah. And it doesn't unless you were at fault, unless you caused the crash.
Which it's going to rise either way, right?
Well, if you caused the crash, your rates will go up. By law in Minnesota, if you did not cause the crash, they cannot increase your rates or discontinue your policy because you're using the benefits that you paid for. Only if you cause a crash
Right.
or do something wrong can it be used against you. If you get tickets or cause crashes, something like that. But if you're not at fault, you should certainly not be afraid of using the benefits that you're entitled to, that you paid for.
So it's 100%, these people are technically protected from getting their insurance premiums raised. They're protected from kind of being bullied by their insurance companies. They're able to use their benefits with zero repercussions. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, as long as they didn't cause the crash.
Right.
That's 100% correct, yes.
So in case a car crash does happen, what are some of your top tips? So what to do?
Well, right from the get-go, the first thing to do is to call the police. Unless it's just extremely minor damage to the vehicle where the police won't come out for that, call the police. Because I cannot tell you how many times I have seen somebody walk into my office and say, we're in this car crash. I had a green light. The other driver ran a red light, T-boned me, and admitted everything at the scene, gave me the insurance information, and everything was good. But a week later, after the at-fault driver had some time to think about it, now all of a sudden they think their light was green and that now my client's light was red. So the first important step to make is to call the police, get them at the scene.
Right. Get the facts straight. Right?
Exactly, exactly. Don't give them a week to think about and recreate what happened.
And change their mind.
Yeah, yeah. And they're more likely than not to tell the truth to the police officer than to their own insurance company.
Right.
And more likely than not to tell the truth right away,
Right.
again, rather than waiting a week and thinking about it.
Right.
So that's the first important step.
So call the police right away, 911, and of course, that encompasses anything that people should be mindful of, like on the scene. Do I need a police report right away? Do I need some kind of like, how do I know that the police did actually document everything correctly? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, the police will create a report, and we can get the report shortly after that. The initial report that they provide is just an exchange of information.
Got it.
Here's the person's name and address and insurance information, but the officer doesn't go into detail about who is at fault and the facts of the crash and that sort of thing. That comes a little later. So usually we get that police report a week or two afterwards. But by having the police there, they're going to document what happens. It's also important to let the police officer know if your neck or your back is starting to tense up a little bit right away. Usually what we see is when the client wakes up the next morning, they're stiff and sore. But immediately at the scene of the crash, adrenaline kicks in and they seem to be doing fine. But even that initial neck and back pain should be mentioned to the police officer because he's got a box to check on the report for that as well. So document.
So there's literally a box that must be checked as well, and that, of course, plays a big role, that entire police report on the entire case.
Right. It wouldn't be unusual for an insurance company to say, well, at the scene, you weren't hurt, were you?
Right. But if it's in the report,
exactly,
then it's rock solid. So basically, the number one point person after a crash is the police officer.
Right.
Just all focus on him or her.
Yep. You want to confirm that they document how the crash occurred, and if you're feeling any kind of pain or any kind of symptoms physically, that you report that to them as well. Then the next step would be to contact your insurance agent and let them know that you were in the crash, here's what happened, that sort of thing. All they're doing is documenting that there's going to be a claim.
Are they the ones that actually open the claim, or is that a separate phone call?
Well, no, the agent would start the process, but then they're going to quickly hand it over to a claims adjuster who handles the claim in its entirety.
Got it.
So, so there's a difference there. The agent is the person that you bought the insurance from, and you're just calling them, notifying them that a crash happened, you were involved in it, and here's what happened, and that sort of thing. Then they contact the claims adjuster at your insurance company, and then they pick it up from there.
Got it. Okay.
So the next step of what could go wrong would be that conversation with the claims adjuster. If we don't really see any benefit to having a conversation with the claims adjuster, if you've already told your agent how the crash happened, they have that information. No need to repeat it a second time to a new person at the insurance company.
Unless they're trying to grill you.
Yeah, unless they're trying to delve into your past medical history and try to claim that the treatment that you'd be getting or the pain that you're having now is actually due to that slip and fall that you had 3 years ago on ice where you hurt your low back. So you need to be careful about that. That claims adjuster isn't there to help you. That claims adjuster is on the other side from you, has adverse interests to you. So you don't want to divulge all this information that they can use to somehow correlate your current symptoms with something that happened 3 years ago.
So is it possible to not have that conversation? Like, let's say I get into a crash, immediately, we notify the police, then I notify my attorney. Would the attorney be able to take over communication, or does that happen after that initial conversation with the adjuster?
Yeah, as soon as somebody comes into our office, we explain the law, gather the facts, and give them steps to take after that. But then the first thing we do when the client leaves is we immediately fax letters to the insurance company that say, hey, we represent John Smith.
Right.
Don't contact John Smith anymore. Everything comes through us. So then the client doesn't have to get all these phone calls about their car, bring your car here to get fixed, or you're going to the doctor, which doctor you're going to. All of that can go through us. And then we will give the information to the insurance company as they need it.
Does that initial conversation with the adjuster still need to happen directly with the person?
No, then we take over that conversation with the insurance company.
So basically, we can do step 1, notify the police. Step 2, retain an attorney. Would that be a logical step? And then after that point, once an attorney has been retained, all communications, including the ones where they try to catch you with your words and confuse you and just do a bunch of stuff, that can all just be avoided altogether.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All communication would go through our office. No direct contact between the insurance company and the claimant after that point.
Which is great, because from my understanding, every single phone call and every single conversation is recorded, correct?
Yeah, they're upfront about it. We're going to record this, and
then it's used in court later.
yeah, it can be used in court, and it can be used if they don't believe that the treatment that you're getting is necessary. They can try to hire their own doctor and terminate your benefits and use the information that you said. Well, look, 2 weeks after the crash, you had this recorded statement with the insurance companies, and you said you were doing fine. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we see that all the time.
But you said fine.
yeah. The most common way of doing it is, "Hi, how are you? I'm great."
Okay, conversation over. Let's hang up.
Yeah. So it's great. You're doing fine. You were in a crash a couple weeks ago, but everything's good, huh?
Okay.
They don't understand that you're talking about, that spot in your neck that you're having this problem with that just started following the crash.
Yeah.
They're trying to ask these vague questions. So, what I tell people is, don't think that you can outsmart the insurance company. Don't think that you got more experience than they. This is all they do.
They train hard
from morning till night. They're doing the same thing, and their job is to keep the costs low for their boss and pay out the least that they need to, and so they're not gonna help you in that process of getting the benefits you deserve.
Exactly. Let's talk about case values. I understand there's quite a bit of a range. What are some of the factors? Who is entitled to a settlement? Maybe we could explore this topic a little more.
Sure. So the way the law works in Minnesota is your own insurance company pays for $20,000 worth of medical care. You get mileage to and from the doctor as well. There's another pot of $20,000 for wage loss and replacement services. Wage loss, they pay 85% of your wages up to $500 a week. Replacement services, they pay up to $200 a week, and that's for things you can't do around the house, inside the house or outside the house. If you couldn't shovel the driveway or mow the lawn or lift the laundry basket to do laundry or clean the interior of the house, you're entitled to replacement services for those benefits, for those items that you couldn't do on your own. Then you've got, and those benefits, again, are all from your own insurance company, no matter who's at fault, and they can't raise your rates if you weren't at fault for the crash. But then if you were not at fault in the crash, you also have a claim against the at-fault driver and their insurance company. But only if one of a number of things happen. You have to have a minimum of $4,000 in treatment, and X-rays, MRIs, and CT scans are not treatment, they're diagnostic testing, so they don't work towards that $4,000 threshold. Right. But you need $4,000 in treatment or a permanent injury, a 60-day total disability, scarring or disfigurement, or death. So what most cases come down to is, do you have more than $4,000 in treatment? Do you have a permanent injury? A permanent injury is not as bad as it sounds. A permanent injury, that's not a high threshold to meet. A permanent injury is not a permanent disability. It's not like you would have to have had surgery or a broken bone or something like that. Permanent injury could be something in your neck where you've got a hyperextension injury. Your neck flew forward and back after getting in a crash.
Whiplash.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And you got a knot or a ball of spasm that's formed in your shoulder there, and it just won't go away. That is a permanent injury.
Right. So a symptom that after a period of treatment, it basically reaches MMI, maximum medical improvement, right? But that's still not 100%. And so as a result, permanent injury.
Right, exactly. So again, the way to think about it is it's not a permanent disability. It doesn't mean that you can't work again. It doesn't mean that you can't perform acts of daily living. It means that we can't get rid of that ball of spasm that's
You're not
in your
at
neck.
the position that you were before the accident.
Exactly.
So things have changed.
Yeah, right. So that would be a permanent injury.
Right.
A 60-day total disability, that would be if you're kind of laid up in the hospital or at home for 60 days. It doesn't have to be consecutive days, but it is a very, very serious injury if you're almost completely incapacitated for 60 days or more.
Oh, yeah.
Scarring and disfigurement, any kind of scarring, a rash from the seatbelt on your shoulder or across your stomach could qualify as disfigurement and scarring. Any kind of cut, a small cut, is a disfigurement, and it is surprising the value of a scar for someone. A scar, there's a lot of different rules, it seems like, for scars. I'm not, these aren't my opinions, so don't blame me for my outdated
You're just giving
opinions. But for the most part, scars are worth more on women than they are on men. Scars are
our imperfect world.
Yeah, we're in tough enough shape to begin with.
I guess.
The scars are worth more on somebody who's younger than older. Right. Worth more on a single person than a married person.
Of course.
That sort of thing. But scars, I've had cases where a scar on a little girl's arm from a dog bite was worth the $100,000 policy limit, and that's nowhere near the face, obviously, with it being on the arm. So those scars are important to point out to your lawyer to make sure that they get you compensated for that as well.
Right, and to your chiropractor so that the documentation can happen, all the lacerations, all the cuts, the bruises, everything needs to be documented, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then I think we've gone through all the other thresholds, but the last one is death, and those are obviously very traumatic. And if that occurs, every family member is entitled to a settlement.
It's a big loss. Affects a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are the thresholds. That's what needs to be met in order to bring a claim against the at-fault driver. In terms of the value of the case, every case is different, but oftentimes they fall into different categories. We heard it best when doctors refer to a three-pronged triangle or pyramid. The lowest level of settlement value would be for claims for like a whiplash, a soft tissue injury, an injury to the muscles, ligaments, and tendons around the spine, where you would normally treat with a chiropractor. That's who treats those types of injuries. Medical doctors can treat those to some extent, although they're usually limited to prescribing drugs for that. You can treat with acupuncture, massage, physical therapy, all those types of things. Usually if the doctor can't get you better after several months of treatment, it's time to take the next step up the pyramid, which is injections. There's all sorts of different kinds of injections, little trigger point injections into that ball of spasm that's in your neck or your back to try to break it up and hope that it doesn't come back together again, or if it does, it comes back smaller, so you've made some progress. There's epidural injections, which most women have in childbirth, where you try to alleviate all of the pain for a certain period of time. Usually it could last, the relief could last a month, 3 months, that sort of thing. But with those epidural steroid injections, you have to be careful because you should definitely talk to your doctor about that because there seems to be a limit to the number of injections you can have without it starting to have some adverse effects. That's pretty powerful and potent stuff. And there are studies that indicate that there's negative repercussions from overdoing those epidural steroid injections. So a lot of people much prefer a more natural approach to relief for spinal injuries. Another type of injection is a facet injection or a medial branch block, and then followed by a RFN, a radiofrequency neurotomy, where they would, if after 6 months or 9 months or so, you're just not getting relief, you're still having that same nagging problem in your neck or your back, maybe then it's time to take a look at should I be seen by a pain doctor or a physical medicine doctor or orthopedist, because maybe it's not the muscles, ligaments, and tendons around the spine as we first thought it was.
Could be a deeper injury, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It could be to the facet, the space between the discs rubbing on each other. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, they'll do a couple test injections to see if it eliminates the pain right away. And those are just diagnostic, so they're not going to give long-term relief. But they're trying to identify what disc area, what facet is the problem. Mm-hmm. And once they've identified it, then they can go in and burn the nerve endings, not the entire nerve. Right. No doctor's going to burn off your whole nerve. The endings of your nerve, and then they grow back in about a year. Mm-hmm. But if your problem is a facet, the remedy is the radiofrequency neurotomy, and relief should be almost complete. It's deemed not even effective if you don't get 70 or 80% minimum relief from your symptoms that you are having. And then that relief should last about a year, 9 months to 18 months. It's different for everybody. And then that procedure would oftentimes need to be repeated about a year later. And that would be an ongoing situation. So that's if the injury is a facet injury. The top of the pyramid is if it's not a soft tissue injury, not muscles, ligaments, and tendons, not a facet injury, then it's more than likely a disc injury. So you would have an MRI or a CT scan, and you would see if something, if your disc was impinging on the spinal cord, and
The herniations, the bulges, all that.
right, exactly.
Right.
So then you'd get that MRI done. Symptoms that would be noticeable and be a red flag for a bulging or herniated disc that's impinging on your spinal cord is if you've got numbness or tingling or electrical jolts running down into your
Burning.
from your neck down into your hands if you've got a neck issue, or
Disc.
the same kind of problem. If you've got a low back injury, it would shoot down into your foot. Numbness, tingling, electrical jolts, burning, that sort of
Pain,
thing.
even.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all indicators that there could be a disc problem there.
Absolutely.
So depending on what the MRI result says, you might need a surgical consultation, and surgery obviously is the last resort, and it's the something you would see a surgeon for, and there's numerous kinds of different types of surgery, spinal surgery. Some more intrusive than others. You could have a more simple one where you just scrape out that bulge, and it's like a day surgery. You're up and around the afternoon following the surgery.
Right.
A lot of times they could do a disc replacement surgery. If the entire disc is bad, they can put new spacers in above and below that disc, and that would provide relief. A fusion surgery is usually the very last resort, where they're literally fusing discs together, not giving you an opportunity for movement.
Right. The range of motion gets hit pretty hard with that one, though.
Yeah. There's a rod that is placed in there, and so and then you usually 5-10 years later, you've got a problem with the disc above or the disc below or both, because there's that's the only disc that's moving. It's taking all the wear and tear. The other ones are
working
just
overtime.
Sitting. Yeah. So those are that's kind of the pyramid: soft tissue, muscles, ligaments, and tendons, injections of all sorts, and then surgery at the top of the.
Or at least a surgical consultation, right?
Right.
See what the options are, see what's going on, and but yeah, I understand. So 3 levels, and of course each level has different types of settlements, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like each insurance company has their own numbers that they pay in each of those categories. So some insurance companies pay more by reputation than other insurance companies do, but and I think the way to analyze that is when you're watching TV and you see a commercial and it's a discount insurance company.
Discount.
Then and where all they're talking about is their low cost. You can save money by coming to us.
Oh, okay.
That's a pretty good indication that they got less money coming in, so they got less money going out.
Right. Oh, that's a good one. I've never heard that one before. Okay, so don't buy from the insurance companies that are like, we're the lowest, we're the cheapest.
Right. Because they're the lowest that they charge you, and they're the lowest payers.
Got it.
As well. It's hard to pinpoint values of what each case is worth, but those soft tissue cases where it's just muscles, ligaments. I don't want to minimize it, but in the big scheme of things,
Compared to the
it's you get better with chiropractic care. You're back to 100%. Those might be $10,000 cases. The injections add more value. The trigger point injections, maybe 25,000, epidurals, 50,000. The RFN claims, you have a couple RFNs, I think everybody pays into 6 digits, over 6 digits. We settled some for over 300,000 for radiofrequency neurotomy procedures. The disc cases, surgery, again, it varies dramatically between what kinds of surgery you have, where they just scrape out the disc. It's certainly not going to be worth less than $100,000. All surgery cases would be $100,000 or more. I had one where just resolved a case recently where there's a fusion case for somebody who had even had previous problems right up to the time of the crash, but didn't have the fusion surgery until after. We got, I think it was $750,000 for that one. And that was with somebody, again, who had treatment for
basically
the neck.
Pre-existing condition.
Right.
But the accident, it set off that disc issue, and then eventually fusion.
Exactly. Yeah. So values can range dramatically. Each case has to be evaluated on its own.